Hello, our students. I'm very glad to greet you in our lesson. Today, the theme of our lesson, fiction and non-fiction genres.
Learning objective. Understanding specific information and detail in extended text on a range of familiar general and curricular topics and some unfamiliar topics. Lessons objective. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to read for defined details in the text, talk about non-fiction and fiction books using specific subject vocabulary. Answer the question: what are literary genres? Categories used to group different types of literary work such as non-fiction, fiction, and poetry. While there are many different genres, classifications, we will learn about only some of them. Two main classifications: non-fiction and fiction. Non-fiction. This category can also be called informational material. These types of books provide information that is factual. Nothing is make-believe in this type of materials. More specific examples of this genre would be biographies, a true account of a person's life written, composed, or produced by another person. Autobiographies, the biography of a person written by a person. Next type, fiction. In this type of work, the author may make up an entire story. Author can also choose to include factual information in a make-up story. The author can have a wizard creating magic spells, or it can be about a teen who has a secret crush or a person lost in the wilderness. The subjects are limited. There are many different types of fiction. First type, historical fiction. The story makes the reader back to a particular time period where they learn about the everyday life of a person. The character may interact with actual historical characters, but usually the main character is not based on a real person. Second, realistic fiction. The story usually presents a problem to be examined that could be from anybody's life. These stories may cover such topics as family situations, peer relationships, and cultural differences. Science fiction. This is type of modern fantasy. It explores scientific fact and can pose ethical questions about current sciences, trends, and predictions. The author focuses on the adventure of exploring the unknown and the wonder of discovering new worlds and people. Mystery. There are different types of mystery stories, but usually a crime has been committed and the reader wants to try to figure out who done it. This is usually a great deal of suspense and intrigue. Fantasy. In this type of story, the author has created a magical world where anything is possible. There are many types of fantasy, from fables to fairy tales. Stories may include magical beings, talking animals. Fairy tales. We often know we are reading or hearing a fairy tale with the world. Once upon a time, fairy tales often feature a fight between good and evil, will always loses to a triumphal hero or heroine. We also know it's a fairy tales because most end to this, and they lived happy ever after. Fables. These stories usually have a moral lesson that is being taught. The story often uses animals that speak and act like humans. And last type of this category, myth. Myth, a story of a group of stories that form part of the traditional knowledge of a society. Myths often use imaginative plots and characters to explain how the world began and why nature and people behave the way they do. Now, students, answer the question: what genre? Try to find genre for topics: the tortoise and the hare, Sleeping Beauty, Hercules, 39 Clues, The Maze of Bones, The Hunger Games, Grindel, Harry Potter, The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Answers: The Tortoise and the Hare is a fable. Hercules is a myth. The Hunger Games is a science fiction. Grindel is a realistic fiction. Sleeping Beauty is a fairy tale. 39 Clues, The Maze of Bones, it's a mystery. Harry Potter is a fantasy book. The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere is a historical fiction. What type of genres are these books? First book. It's a non-fiction book. It's a biography. This book is biography of a person written by a person. Second book. Fiction book. Science fiction novels written by Herbert Wells. It's a gripping novel narrated by a writer whose name we never learn, about Martians arriving on Earth with a plan to conquer humanity and settle on their planet.
Our lesson is over. I think that everything was understandable. Goodbye. See you on the next time. Thank you for your attention.